Welcome to the inaugural episode of Field Vision, brought to you by War Room Sports in conjunction with Sports Kings. I'm one of your hosts at this roundtable. I'm Devin McMillan, and I'm here with my partners, Justin of Sports Kings, Jimmy of War Room Sports.
The Kurt Hennig of Internet Sports Talk is here, baby.
Jim of the Sports Kings.
Ball so soft, University.
And B. Austin.
Mazel tov! You must have chutzpah!
All right, now Field Vision is a show where we're going to give you in-depth NFL analysis, and we're just going to catch you up on all the happenings in the league from week to week. So this week, of course, is the beginning of free agency in the National Football League, so we're going to talk about some moves that were made as far as signings, trades, and a few people who are still lingering out there that, you know, we have some opinions on where they might end up or, you know, what their situation may entail in the coming days. So, fellas, let's jump right into this. I mean, it's been a huge 24 hours thus far. First shoe to drop, maybe not the very first, but the first big shoe to drop was Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace signs with the Dolphins, 5 years, $60 million. $30 million in guarantees. Of course, you know, last year he had 1,193 yards, 8 touchdowns for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jim, we'll go to you because you're our resident Steelers fan here. First of all, how will the loss of Mike Wallace affect the Pittsburgh Steelers? And then we can talk about this deal with the Dolphins and, you know, let us know if you think it was a good one.
It's going to hurt the offense overall just because Mike Wallace, even though he was dropping a ton of passes, you look at what he does even when the ball's not getting thrown to him, and it's, you know, he stretches that field every time he runs down the field, even if he's not getting thrown the ball. He's a guy to be accounted for, and it's no coincidence that Antonio Brown broke out with Wallace on the other side of him. So it's going to hurt the offense in that aspect. He was our prime deep threat, and it's really going to hurt not having him, but I think he can be replaced. But I will say that I think the Dolphins grossly overpaid for him because he's proven to be nothing but a one-trick pony at this point. And it's not going to be Big Ben back there throwing him the ball either. So it's going to be on Wallace to earn that $60 million.
That's the exact same title that I have for him, because when I think of Mike Wallace, I kind of think of a taller version of Deshaun Jackson. Like you said, he does stretch the field, but I do believe as a receiver he's a one-trick pony. And I don't know if you break the bank like that for just a deep threat. Justin, what do you think?
To me, I think that the Dolphins had to pay that. They needed a guy like that. Of course, they have Brian Hartline. Besides Calvin Johnson, Hartline at the midway point of the season last year was leading the NFL in receptions. Putting Mike Wallace across from the field from that, it's only going to make one of the two better. The biggest thing for me, though, is over the last 3 years, the Dolphins have had 23 touchdowns from their receivers collectively. The last 3 years, even in Mike Wallace's for him, a bad year last year, 8 touchdowns. For the last 3 years himself, he's had 26 touchdowns. So that aspect alone, it might be a little bit too much, but if the Dolphins weren't going to pay, he was going to get it somewhere else.
Right, so basically what I'm hearing now and what I've been hearing, Jimmy and B, is you're not just paying for, you know, what he does as far as production, as far as his numbers are concerned. You're paying for, you know, what else he does for the team as far as stretching the field, making the receiver on the other side better. Jimmy, do you think
absolutely
that, you know, the Dolphins will benefit?
I agree. I agree with Justin because this is a good fit. When you look at what the Dolphins already had in terms of their offense and what he does, you call him a one-trick pony, and if that's the case, he does that trick very well. You know, I could tell Jim is a little, salty as a Steelers fan, so you got to take that into consideration when he made his comment that he is a Steelers fan. So, you know, but I think this was a good fit, and maybe they overpaid, but just like Justin said, if they wouldn't have paid him this money, he wouldn't have went to Miami. They had to, make this move, and on paper, it looks like it could be a good move considering what they already have on offense. Now, you know, they lose their running back, but, you know, in terms of the receiving position, this was a good move in my opinion.
B. Austin, 5 years, $60 million?
Absolutely, positively overpaid it for the one-trick pony. And, yes, he does that one trick tremendously well. Stretch the field, run the 9 route, run the go. Hands are a question. And I think what the Dolphins are looking at is Hartline and Devon Best working underneath. They need someone to stretch the field, open it up.
Exactly.
I get that, but you don't need to pay $60 million. And what was the guarantee on his deal?
$30 million guaranteed.
You don't need to guarantee Mike Wallace $30 million. I mean,
he wasn't coming if you didn't.
And they have the young quarterback with the strong arm,
with the gun. The ball. But before we let's look at the trend here. And I know that he's young. But he's gone from
25.
He's 25, 1257 in 2010. Average. The biggest thing with him is average on catches, 21 yards per catch. The following season, 1193, 16.6, and then last year in 14 games started, 836 and 13 yards a catch. Now, I'm not saying that is indicative of where he definitely will be. I think he just had an off year, but I don't pay $30 million guaranteed for someone that gave me 836 yards and 13 yards a catch.
How many games was that?
That's 14 games started.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
14 games, 15 games played, 14 games started. I know where you were going, Jimmy.
No, because he wasn't completely healthy. But go ahead, though.
No, we'll see how it shakes out for them. I mean, wide receiver, definitely. It was the flavor of the
most
first
dependent
two
position on the field, but we'll get in that.
Yeah, I do agree with you that wide receiver is the most dependent position on the field, but it seems like in the first day of free agency, NFL teams have put a premium on wide receivers. We had two trades that went down yesterday. One was Percy Harvin being traded to the Seattle Seahawks from the Minnesota Vikings, and Anquan Bolden was traded to the San Francisco 49ers for a 6th-round pick. And let's start off talking a little bit about Percy Harvin, because when he left Minnesota, he kind of had a few comments throwing Christian Ponder under the bus. He expressed how happy he was to be playing with Russell Wilson. Jimmy, do you think that Percy Harvin will be a good fit in Seattle?
Listen, man, what's going on in the NFC West is crazy. It's like those two teams are loading up for each other. I can't wait for football season to start. I think this is a good fit. People forget that, he got hurt, but I think about halfway through last season, there was talk about him being MVP of the league.
Yep.
You know what I mean? People forget about that. And then when you look at what Seattle already has with Golden Tate, you got Beast Mode, Russell Wilson coming into his own, the nasty defense they have. I think this is a great move for Seattle. And like you said, San Fran went out and made their moves as well. But these two teams are just loading up right now. It's going to be very exciting in the NFC West. I think this was a good move on Seattle's part. In terms of him throwing Christian Ponder on the bus, I don't know what the point of that was. I found it comical, but he said things that we already knew. You didn't have to tell us that.
Yeah, Christian Ponder threw himself under the bus.
Exactly.
Throw him under the bus. He's already under there.
Now, Percy is everything that Jimmy just said he was. We're getting a little interference here, but Justin, the migraines, that's an issue for Percy Harvin. I actually saw a report today where it said somebody actually questioned whether he was faking these migraines because there's no evidence of them. But how do you think he'll fare with Russell Wilson out in Seattle?
First of all, I think connecting with Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator out there, is going to be a good thing. He knows the system. It might not be the exact same thing, but he knows the basics of it. Pete Carroll, he's a defensive-minded coach. We all know that, but he throws in a little twist on the offense. As far as the headaches, I don't know if that was real. I mean, it was a big deal. He missed a lot of time concerning him, but I think last year they kind of got that under control. They said it was like a hydration issue, like a dietitian type thing. He's been seeing a dietitian and stuff. So I think that's under control. As far as him faking it, I mean, no one really knows. There's not a machine that you can hook up to someone and see if they got a headache. So that I don't know. But as far as the fit, I think it's going to be a good fit. Like I said, he's familiar with the system. They've got a young offense. They've got a great offensive line. And the way they run trickery up there, I mean, it's I don't want to say unstoppable, but it's going to be exciting to watch.
All right, so B. Austin, what are your thoughts on Percy Harvin gone over to join that core in Seattle.
Tremendous. I think it's a tremendous move because you're getting a player that sort of fits into the whole college transition to NFL. He's going to give you touches at wide receiver, punt returner, kick returner, running back. He's an emergency quarterback. And so, water boy. He's going to sew uniforms. He's going to do dances. He's going to do everything you want. I'm interested in how his agent is going to renegotiate his contract, because he's going to have to throw in the fact that he's gotten 10, 15, 20% of his touches at running back. So how does that affect his value?
Well,
I think he's a very valuable player for a quarterback like Russell Wilson, who's not a pure passer. So you can find different ways to get Percy the ball, and he's used to it.
Have they done the contract already, Jim? Because I saw.
No. I don't think so.
Okay, I thought I saw something where when they interviewed Christian Ponder about getting thrown under the bus, he said Percy got the contract that he wanted.
I heard it was $67 million, 6 years.
What?
Yeah, 6 years, $67 million. Is what it is.
Yo, I can get down to 215 and still run a 4.4, yo. I need to get this money.
You hear this guy down here? He's talking about his 40 speed.
Yeah, his 40-time promise.
Money.
Knowing you somewhere in the manti range.
Yeah, we're gonna make a video of him running the 40, so he can show and prove. But
never.
Anquan Bolden. This was a
smoke the shit out, man.
This was a situation where, a lot of people that we speak to every day, Facebook, Twitter. A lot of people were a little skeptical about this move because they're thinking, one hardball brother is helping out another hardball brother. But, in my opinion, I think Ozzie Newsome is too good of a GM to be attempting to nurture sibling, situations. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. What are your guys' thoughts on the Anquan Bolden deal? Because I look at it as they were going to lose him for nothing, so getting a 6-rounder for him is not as bad.
It was a good move.
Yeah, the Raiders coach let his friend win the Super Bowl, so anything's possible, right?
We hear all kind of conspiracy theories.
That's a shot at Justin, who's a Raiders fan, by the way.
I think it was a great. I think it was a great move. I am an Anquan Bolden stan, and so I respect the dude. I think his game is tremendous. But at this point in his career, 33 years of age, he's 10, 11 seasons in. You can see little things if you pay attention. His breaks, his getting open, the space and separation. It's not really there.
Doesn't get open.
He doesn't. I was going to get to that. He doesn't really get open. His hands are tremendous, and his concentration is tremendous. So he doesn't have to be as open, but you can see the athleticism is kind of diminishing. And so I think you find a way for him to be placed in a role where he can be successful, which is as a third or a fourth receiver on a great team, and he's going to make clutch catches for you. But he's no longer a 1. And probably not a 2 on a great team or a good team. So I think it was a good move. They get a 6-round pick out of it instead of allowing him to walk. And then you have to look at the draft choices. Some folks were like, well, why didn't they get a higher draft? You kind of have to get into the salary cap thing, which this isn't going to be on this episode. But when you look at the salary cap and how all that factors in, I think it was a good move, man. It was a good move.
Jim, do you buy into any of this conspiracy theory that is one hardball brother helping out another?
No, I don't think it's a conspiracy, but if you're the Baltimore Ravens, it looks like not only with Anquan Bolden, but their whole team seems to be imploding right now. They've got rid of so many guys in 2 days. And if they were going to release him, that's fine, but it makes me wonder what they have in plan after him, because right now Torrey Smith is your number 1, and he can't do anything but go deep.
Yikes.
So it's not so much that they traded him to get something because they were going to release him. I understand that part. But what were they thinking just getting rid of him in general? He pretty much won in the playoffs for them, even though he had a really mediocre regular season. It makes me wonder what they have going on afterwards.
He was on the hook. He was on the hook for $8 million this year, though.
Dad, for me, I was looking at this, and I agree with Jim. It's kind of crazy. I want to know what their plan is. If it wasn't Ozzie Newsome, I probably would, but I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's been
he
one of the better
wasn't
guys
going
in
to
the front office.
restructure.
I'm not even talking about him specifically. I'm saying in general, what's going on in terms of the Baltimore. Because is this one of those Florida Marlins deals where you win a championship and you just get rid of everything?
They all hating on Joe Flacco getting that money.
No, you know when the Marlins win a championship and it is like, let everything go at this point. So I was like, this is one of those Florida Marlins deals, but it's Ozzie Newsome. So I have to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's showing proof. He's one of the best guys in the front office in football. I just want to see what his plan is. Maybe it's a lot of people coming in this draft that I don't know.
All right, Justin, what are your thoughts?
As far as Q, I think it's good for the 49ers. I mean, they had Randy Moss last year. He was 4 years younger than Randy Moss. I personally think he's a little faster. He's a little more athletic. Yes, he's losing the step, but Randy Moss was a pretty good decoy last year for the 49ers. I think Anquan replacing him, taking that role as maybe the third receiver. I mean, people seem to forget the 49ers drafted A.J. Jenkins last year in the first round, so he's going to be ready to go. The Harbaugh brothers are good at grooming young players. So for Q, I think it's a good move. And then just to touch on the Ravens, I mean, you're losing 6 or 7 of the guys that started the Super Bowl, 5 of the guys that started the opening day of the regular season on defense. You don't know what's going on with Ed Reed. Gary Williams, we don't know what's going on with him. And then this morning, I mean, Bernard Pollard looked like he was safe, and they let him go. So I'm agree with all you guys. If it wasn't Ozzie Newsome, I would swear Al Davis went back. It's Ozzie Newsome, so he's got a plan up his sleeve. He
gets a pass.
For now, yeah. We'll see how it plays out. I mean,
now,
some people win Super Bowls get a little cocky. But
I've never been the biggest Bernard Pollard supporter, but over the last 2 seasons, he's shown me something. I was very surprised that they let him go based on what he did for them last year. Very surprised.
Mm-hmm.
No. Listen, I'm the biggest Bernard detractor there is because I don't think the guy can cover, and I don't like to see safeties in today's game that can't cover. But he balled out this particular season. So unless he had a big contract,
he has the concussion problems in the NFL. But other than
that's a good thing.
I mean, for his team, it is not, not for the league in general. But we'll get into the quote unquote death of the NFL on a later episode. Let's interject a few big releases for a minute before we get back to some of the signings. Ryan Fitzpatrick, former quarterback of the Buffalo Bills.
From Harvard.
He was released. I don't know if you guys found this to be a surprising move. He was on the book for about $10 million this year. He didn't even get through half of that contract that he just signed 2 years ago. Justin, when you heard this news come down the pipe, were you a bit surprised? Because can they really go into the season with Tavares Jackson at quarterback, or
to garbage Jackson,
garbage,
or was this a move that had to be made?
Again, let me get down to 215 and see if I can throw. I could get into a contract. To garbage Jackson. No, come on, though. To garbage Jackson, though. Come on.
He can do anything at 215.
I know. Everything's 215 in his 40 time.
Olympics.
Yeah, Justin, what'd you think about it, though, Justin?
I don't know if you guys heard the Deadspin report or the prank phone call, but I think I think he could have had a standing chance if Chan Gailey didn't blast him on it. Well, I guess it wasn't on air. He didn't know what was going on, but that went public, and I mean, how can you, unless you're Rex Ryan and you paid Mark Sanchez $16 million, how can you make up for something like that? And we're going to sign him. I mean, the year he had in Buffalo when he got that extension halfway through the season, he was playing good football, but they were playing teams like the Raiders, the Browns, the Dolphins. I mean,
he owed Fred Jackson half his money.
Yeah, and to me, he wasn't deserving the contract in the first place.
Exactly.
But
great point. Yeah, I agree.
He's going to be a good backup. He's smart. He graduated from Harvard, so he can go sell insurance or something.
He will be a good backup. I agree with you. Just like Jimmy just said, he did. When he got that contract halfway through that season, I was wondering what the rush was for the Buffalo Bills. And
you know how it is with a quarterback. They're so pressed for a quarterback. They thought they found their guy.
We live in the pom-pom era.
I agree with everything that Justin said, but it still was kind of surprising to me just considering they have to Garbage Jackson as a backup. And I'm like, okay, you're going to go into the season this way? Like, what are you going to do? So it still was kind of surprising to me, but I don't think he deserved the contract either. I think we're all in agreement there that he didn't deserve the money, but still.
Now, Jim, do you know where the Bills are picking in the draft?
Eighth overall.
Eighth. Any quarterbacks worthy of an eighth pick this season?
I
They're
don't
coming
know.
out next year.
You look at the Bills. Like, I live up here in Western New York, and they're throwing a party right now because Fitz got cut. So
Wow.
I think the whole Bills Nation Mafia is pretty happy about this because
But have they seen?
he didn't
who
live
the
up to anything
backup
with
is?
that contract.
Yeah.
Do they know who to Garbage?
Yeah. I'm getting to that though. I keep telling them all.
Go ahead.
I keep telling all of them. Sure, Fitz is gone, but it's going to get worse. So I got to think they're looking at Geno Smith or something in the first round because they don't have anything else going on. It's like
Eighth pick, though?
you got to do something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Don't forget Matt Flynn's available.
True.
They're not that smart.
True.
Speaking of overpaid,
Yeah. I mean, he's overpaid solely because we don't have a big sample size on him. We don't know whether Matt Flynn really can play or not. I mean,
so he's overpaid then.
that's what I'm saying. He's definitely overpaid because we don't have the sample size.
He's trying
on
to
him.
say that we don't know whether he's garbage or not.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
he may
But when
be able to go somewhere, start, and be pretty good, but obviously Seattle thought Russell Wilson was better. I mean, he's dynamic. He bought, another.
Listen, Matt Flynn took advantage of his one shot. That was his 8 Mile moment. He had that one game,
He had mom spaghetti
He
on
had
his
that mom
wrist.
spaghetti game. He had that one game. He had one shot, and he took advantage of it and got paid. So shout out to Matt Flynn for that.
All right, so for everybody who doesn't know, B. Austin is our resident defensive backs coach. So I'm going to ask him about this one. Nnamdi Asomugha. He was the catalyst. He was the first big pickup for the quote-unquote dream team of 2011.
Dream team.
Nnamdi was released, so obviously that means that he didn't agree to any terms of a restructure. He was scheduled to make $15 million this year with $4 million guaranteed. There's rumors that the 49ers and about 3 other teams are interested. I bring up the 49ers because there's mutual interest there. They're saying that Nnamdi may want to go back out to the Bay Area and play with the Niners. B. Austin, do you think he would be a good fit with the Niners? Do you think everything that happened in Philly was his fault? What are your thoughts on Nnamdi?
I'm probably going to get a virtual ass whooping from my Eagles fans that are watching this. I'm going to say that we definitely overpaid for Nnamdi. He definitely didn't show improve.
Hindsight is always 20/20.
Yeah.
I was happy as hell when they gave him that.
Yeah, we was happy. But I'm going to say this. He is still an above average corner. That entire defensive backfield played terrible. And there's a lot of cases when you watch game film where we were running cover 2 or we were running thirds with high safeties, and Kirk Coleman is trash and Nate Allen is garbage. So garbage and trash at your safety, and Nnamdi's looking for help, and you're looking at Nnamdi because he's getting $15 million and he was the big signing. And the reality is the coverage was bracket coverage, or he was supposed to have help, and the help didn't get there. So a lot of those plays weren't on just Nnamdi or weren't on Nnamdi at all. Now, that being said, there were plenty of cases where Nnamdi locked up one-on-one with a guy like Victor Cruz and got his food taken.
Yeah.
And you don't get your food taken if you're the second or third best cornerback in the world. So he obviously
was advertised to be.
Yeah, as he was advertised. So
Well,
I think
playing for that horrible Raiders team, it was kind of masked because
right. No,
the other corner was so bad they never threw a Nnamdi side.
Stanford's out.
Justin, he's going to take shots at you every year.
Every chance
5
you get,
minutes.
just go ahead and shoot back. You got to get shoot back, man.
No, but one thing about Nnamdi, man, especially to the average fan who's watching on television, no matter whose fault it was, the cameraman really doesn't know football. So if a touchdown is scored on your side, the cameraman is going to put that lonely shot on you. And, a lot of times when that shot came, Nnamdi had his hands up asking, where his safety help was over the top. A lot of Eagles fans didn't buy it, but in a lot of cases,
It was
he was supposed to get safety help over the top.
To keep it real, in Oakland, they ran what I call a don't think defense, which is cover 0 or cover 1 all across the board. You're only responsible for your man, and if I'm going to test someone, it's going to be Stanford route or wherever the other corner was. So it wasn't. We run a lot more zone. God help us as to why, because we don't have good safeties to run a lot of zone. But
if you run a lot of zone, why would you get rid of Asante Samuel, who's one of the best corners that play zone? I mean, I just think about that when you say that. Like,
it's called stupidity.
Stupidity.
Oh, okay.
Let me ask Justin real quick though. Justin, what are your thoughts on why Nnamdi was so good with your Raiders, and then he stunk up the joint with my Eagles?
The biggest thing is, as much as laughable as the Raiders have been, and I'll admit that. I mean, it's been 10 long years. I got 20 more to get this thing turned around. As laughable as the Raiders have been, we've always had a solid defensive line. We've always had a solid linebacking core. Look at what the Eagles have. You mentioned the cameraman. The cameraman doesn't show everything. You watch the film of the All-22, the Eagles had no pass rush. The quarterbacks had all day.
Zero.
And you guys are Eagles fans, but Jim, can you name 2 linebackers the Eagles have?
Well, he's a Broncos fan.
Exactly.
No, he's
exactly.
I'm an Eagles fan, and
what's his name? The rookie they drafted. Michael something.
Yeah. So when
Seth Joyner.
That guy.
as you mentioned, you got 2 shitty safeties. Pardon my French. You got another good corner in DRC over there on the other side. But when you have no pass rush, the quarterback has all day. You have no linebackers backing up. You got no linebackers following the tight ends. You watch the All-22, and, I mean, you could say Nnamdi was trash, but he could have been the best player on the field at the time for the defense. Not to mention you had an offensive line coach calling defensive plays.
Yeah, I mean, because we talk about somebody like Victor Cruz, it's difficult to guard Victor Cruz for 4 and 5 seconds.
Listen, I don't care who you are as a corner. There's no cornerback in the league. Like, if you don't have any pass rush at all, no one can guard somebody for, you talk about 5 seconds. Sometimes with the Eagles, it was 8 and 10 seconds. Like, it doesn't matter who you are as a cornerback.
Deion Sanders retired.
All right, Jim, what are your thoughts on Nnamdi? Because we all seem to be in the contingents of it's not all his fault, but
it's never all anyone's fault. But I mean, I like to put him under the fraudulent corner title.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to tell you why, because you can't blame everything on who's around you. If he was supposed to dominate so much, he shouldn't need all this help. You know what I mean? He was so great. It's like he's so great in Oakland.
It wasn't that it was help. It wasn't that it was help because he's a weak link. We just run a lot of 2. We run a lot of cover 2.
So does that mean your defensive coordinator didn't figure it out after like 32 games?
Yeah. Our defensive coordinator was fired. Actually, the defense was getting better, and during the bye week when Andy Reid used Juan Castillo as a scapegoat just to throw a sacrificial lamb to the fans, the defense got much worse.
I just don't get, if you know what Nnamdi's good at, why wouldn't you put him in that position to succeed instead of keep letting him get, letting
it's called bad coaching.
Yeah, that's a great point, because they supposedly got rid of Asante Samuel because they were going to run more bump and run coverage with Nnamdi and DRC, and then you get rid of Asante and then you start running more zone.
It makes no sense.
Right, like Jimmy said earlier, Asante Samuel is one of the best zone cornerbacks in the league.
Yeah.
Plant and drive.
I just wanted to say fraudulent corner. I didn't really believe the whole thing. I just wanted to say it.
I've actually read about that, on Sports King.
Well, compared to Darrelle Revis, he is a fraudulent corner.
Yes.
I mean, compared to Darrelle Revis, most
corners
are
in the league are fraudulent.
Compared to Richard Sherman, everyone's fraudulent.
There you go. He's not doing better in life than Richard Sherman.
Nobody is. He's God.
All right, let's get back into some signings then. Detroit made a couple of moves. Their most notable move was to acquire Reggie Bush, the running back from the Miami Dolphins. Now, Reggie Bush just signed a 4-year deal for $16 million with the Detroit Lions, and he's basically saying that this offense is a running back's dream because he's thinking that he can take some pressure off of damn, I've drawn a blank. The quarterback,
Matthew Stafford,
and Calvin Johnson.
Megatron.
He says he viewed a lot of film where the safeties play the Detroit Lions really far off the line of scrimmage because of their passing attack. So he feels like he can exploit the middle of the field in the run game and in the passing game. Jim, how do you feel about the Reggie Bush pickup? Is it a good one for the Lions?
I think it's a great pickup. Number one, they didn't overpay. Number two, I mean, you look at Javi Best. He was him and Bush are very similar backs, and Reggie Bush is absolutely correct. I mean, he was playing well on a Miami team that didn't have weapons like that, and he still ran for 986 last year and over 1,000 the year before that.
Right.
You get him to where he's not being keyed on, and he can also catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's just proven that he's actually a pretty good running back if you let him be a 3-down back. So on this team, I think he's a perfect fit. I think he's going to succeed, and he's going to do really well.
Jimmy, do you think Reggie Bush at this point in his career, do you think he's an every down back? Because he's spent the last 2 years proving that, trying to prove it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that he was looking at game film and trying to make his decision of where he was going to go, and not just his money. But I wonder when he watched the game film, did he realize that Matthew Stafford is going to throw the ball to Megatron regardless of what defense is being played, regardless of who's at running back? He's going to force the ball
what the down and distance is.
Down and distance doesn't matter. It's like Megatron is like the gift and the curse to their offense because Stafford just throws the ball to him regardless of anything, any situation. So, but honestly though, if they can get it together, if Stafford stops doing that, it makes perfect sense. He could fit in. I think he can be an every down back. In that system, he could. But then again, how many teams have an every down back anyway? Everybody's running back by committee these days. Like, there's only like 2 backs in the league that are every down backs now.
Yeah, I mean, but even on certain teams where you have the committee approach, some of them still have that guy that when the game gets into its crucial moments, like that other guy's not going to see the field much.
I mean, this is true, but then again, like 90% of the league throws the ball 90% of the time anyway.
Yeah. The only true every down back I can think of is Adrian Peterson, and he has his flaws,
but he's not human, so he doesn't count.
No,
right.
no.
Right. Justin, Reggie Bush's fit in Detroit.
The way I look at it, I like the signing more so because the Lions are 2 years removed from a playoff spot. Nobody can deny that they were shocked by the Lions 2 years ago. The offense was incredible. They did have a subpar defense. They had a horrible defense last year, but the biggest thing that I saw watching the Lions is they missed Java Best so much last year. They didn't have the piece. I mean, it's hard to say that one piece gets an offense going, but they had Mikel Assure. Who's the dude from Buffalo that they picked up? I can't remember his name. He was like 5th string in Washington, 5th string in Buffalo.
Yeah, that shows you right there. That says enough right there.
Yeah, they had no running game whatsoever. Reggie Bush will help that. It's going to take a little bit of pressure off Calvin. I mean, obviously the dude's a beast. He can do what he wants, but it's going to make the offense more balanced. Open things up actually for the tight ends and even that little slot receiver.
Okay.
Not right.
Yeah,
little Ryan Broyles, that little kid that tore his ACL.
Yeah.
Quick little speedy guy. Yeah, it'll open things up for him. I mean, to me, I think it's gonna make the offense better. So.
And Jim made a great point too, Devin, that they got him at a good number, so they didn't really overpay for him either. So that also makes it a good sign.
What was it? 4 years, 16
4
million?
years, $16 million.
How much?
At one point in his career, Austin, you were calling Reggie Bush Reggie Bust.
Well, I have a lot of respect for Reggie Bush. The only film that I watch regarding Reggie is Kanye West's Baby Mom. And shout out to her. I had to. She gets me emotional. Anyway, Reggie, I'm just gonna echo you guys' sentiments. I definitely think that he's a apt replacement for Javid Best. He's not. You know what? All jokes aside, I really have a lot of respect for Reggie because he wants to be good so bad. And he works. He put a lot of work in down in Miami. So I think that this is fruits of his labor, and I think this will be probably, I don't say his last contract, but the last opportunity for him to be a featured back. And who knows? It could be, it could be something great. Lord knows he's going to be running against 7-man fronts.
Well, he said last year that he wanted to lead the league in rushing.
Yeah.
And, he said all the right things, and I believed him. I got so hyped, I drafted him on my fantasy team.
Yeah, he was tripping.
That didn't work out too great.
Yeah, he was tripping.
Yeah,
but I'm still
blame
a fan.
HBO for that.
He's gonna be running. He's gonna be running against 5-man fronts because defense is
5-man fronts.
Yo, they check Megatron with 7 people.
Well, I think a big question is, will Detroit actually make an effort to make a balanced offense?
Right.
Exactly. That's my point. It's Matthew Stafford. He throws the ball to Megatron regardless of anything. They can call a run play. He's gonna find a way to throw the ball to Megatron.
It's like Matthew Stafford and Megatron are attached at the hip. I know guys in the locker room get sick of them. Like, come on, dude, throw the ball somewhere else.
To be fair, if you were a quarterback in NFL and you had Calvin Johnson on your team, you'd be attached to his hip also.
Absolutely, without a doubt. No question.
I'd be running the draw to Reggie Bush.
He's the gift and the curse.
Yeah, I would.
Why wouldn't you throw it to him?
I'm fronting.
Maybe that's why Percy threw Ponder under the bus. He never got the ball. He was always tossing it back to Peterson.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I guess Percy's figuring, we give the ball to AP all the time. When we do call a pass play, which is rare, this guy can't get me the ball. So I don't know what he's thinking. But look, these next 2 moves, 2 more wide receivers, and we have about 10 minutes left. This was an interesting situation because it seems like one pickup was a reactive move for losing this, we'll just go into it. The Patriots lost Wes Welker. Wes Welker signed a 2-year, $12 million
Bronco
deal
gang!
with the Jimmy's Denver Broncos. That's $2 million more than what the Patriots were offering. They offered him 2 years, $10 million with incentives. And I guess he balked at that. Wes Welker's 31 years old. So after he left, probably 30 minutes later, you hear that Danny Amendola, he left the Rams and signed with the Patriots. 5 years, $31 million. Justin, I think I have a theory on it. I think it's pretty cut and dry. But, when we talk to people every day, on our Facebook pages and Twitter and all that, and things like that, you kind of get the opinion of, I don't want to insult anybody, but the average fan, and they don't seem to look at all the variables and situations. Why do you think these guys would only spring 2 years, $5 million for Wes Welker, and 5 years, $31 million for Danny Amendola? Why is he a Patriot now?
To me, it's the age. You're getting the same guy that's a lot younger.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing. And then you look at the Patriots. Yeah, same player. It's the same guy. Yeah, I'm a little concerned about Danny Amendola's little health issue, cracked ribs. I mean, he's fragile, but other than that, he's the same exact player, just younger, maybe even a little bit faster. I don't want to say that too much because I've seen Welker take a 5-yard route or a 5-yard slant 80 yards to the house. So to me, it comes down to age, and the Patriots pretty much designed the offense. You look at the beginning of the season, they had Stephen Ridley. They featured him a ton. They focused more on the 2 tight end set than anything. So to me, they're going forward with that offense, and it boils down to age. They got the same guy at half the price, and he's younger.
31 years of age versus 27 years of age. Bielson, do you agree that age was the main factor in this?
Absolutely. I'm actually a kind of a supporter or a fan of both of these players because I have a high opinion of Wes Welker, but he's got a lot of wear and tear on him, and the where he lines up and the way he's used, he gets a little bit more wear and tear than your average receiver that's flanked out. And so I completely understand it. You're not going to spend even let's knock the extra year off. You're not going to give Wes Welker a 4-year deal for him to be 35 at the end, and the off chance that you're going to go out that long. So you'd rather spend it on a younger guy. I mean, that's what it boils down to. And if Danny isn't as good as Wes, you just adjust because the Patriots are the sum total of their parts. Like they they'll adjust. If Amendola isn't as good as West, then they'll just go to the Gronk more. They'll just go to Aaron Hernandez more. They just
have like the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man at tight end. So
yeah, so it's like it's whatever, you know. So I thought it was a brilliant move from a personnel standpoint. Fans get upset because there's no loyalty. This is money sport, so FOH.
That's a loyalty, yeah. Jim, Amendola, do you think that he can come into New England and do the same things Walker did? Of course, maybe not catch 102 passes, you know, per season or anything like that. But do you think that role will pretty much be filled?
Oh, 100%. It's no question. I don't even think the Patriots ever plan on re-signing Wes Welker. They lowballed him to make it look good, like, oh, we still want you, yeah, bud, we do. Knowing that he wasn't going to accept that offer, and then he took off, and then 10 minutes later they had Amendola. I think it was a plan from the get-go. And I always thought Welker in that system would be replaceable by another guy that specializes in the slot. Oh, what do we have now? A guy that specializes in the slot, Amendola. So, and plus, like Justin said, they're getting him way cheaper, and he's younger. So I think this was the plan the whole time.
Jimmy, you got to step up. Jimmy, you got to step up on Stokely. So that was a great move for y'all.
Yeah, so that's why I saved Jimmy for last, because Wes Welker is actually going to his Broncos, and he was pretty excited about that earlier in the day. What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
I'm only getting excited because I find it hilarious. I talk to a lot of Patriots fans, and you know, Wes Welker was the greatest player ever yesterday, and today he's no good. He's always been overrated. He's a product of the system. We never needed him. He's the reason we lost the bowl. Yesterday, we have to sign this guy. It's
So
like
true.
It was all good just a week ago.
I'm on Twitter laughing. They're like him and Brady. The way they work together, you just can't throw anybody in there, and it's just going to work that way.
Yes, you
because
can.
they have years together. And it just works.
Jim.
Now today.
Jim.
So I find that hilarious. I like it. I don't think we should run the ball at all next year. Let's just set an NFL record and throw. You know, let Wes Welker play running back 2-yard catches and whatnot. You know, he's good at that. So, I'm excited for. I always like to add another weapon.
That would be the.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right,
I always like to
fellas.
add more weapons, man.
We got about 2 minutes or so left in our first episode. Let's just talk about two players. One of them, Victor Cruz. He was rumored to be. You know, the Patriots were supposed to have some interest in him since everybody figured they may be looking for a slot receiver. With the move to get Danny Amendola, it looks like this might not happen for Victor Cruz. And, of course, we have Darrelle Revis. There's a rumor that the Jets have an offer out there. We're all just waiting to see if he's going to take that. There's been some talk about San Francisco. And, like I said, San Francisco's also talking about Namdi. But, Jim, I guess we can just address these two players together. What do you think is down the pike for Victor Cruz and Darrelle Revis now that a lot of the chips are starting to fall?
The Giants put the tender on Cruz, didn't they?
Oh, did I miss
First-round
that?
tender.
Oh.
Yeah, as far as
I'm
I
not
know,
sure.
he's got a first-round tender, yes.
Yeah, first round tender.
Wow.
Now remember last year when the Steelers did that to Mike Wallace, and nobody would come near him because of that first-round pick, I think.
Right.
The same thing might be true for Victor Cruz this year, unless the team wants to pay him what he thinks he's worth and give up a first-round pick. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to have to crawl back to the Giants and sign that tender, unless a team like the Chiefs wants to make a big move. I could see him going there. And as far as Revis goes, I think wherever he goes,
They
he's
ain't
going to be
giving up
Darrelle
number one
Revis.
overall.
He's going to be
Yeah,
Darrelle
that's the
Revis wherever
thing.
he goes. But Revis is going to want a monster contract wherever he goes, too. So are the Giants willing to pay that to keep him there? And you got to wonder if he wants to go to a contender now and maybe win a few games. So
Yo,
I don't know, but
I don't know if it's just me. It seems like Revis reads up all the time, yo. I think he reads up at halftime of games. Like,
I was thinking the same thing.
yo.
When he said he
Revis
wants a
always
monster
reading up.
contract, I'm like, he always wants a monster
Ty
contract.
Law taught him well. Ty Law taught him
He
well.
goes into halftime of games like, listen, I'm not coming back out unless you give me some more money, you know.
So, Justin, you can close us out. What do you think about the whole? I mean, do you think the Giants basically scared everyone away from Victor Cruz with the first round 10?
I got two names that I'm going to throw out for Victor Cruz. One of them is going to be the Minnesota Vikings. They have 2 first-round picks, of course, the one they got by their year, and then the one they picked up from the Seattle trade. I think picking up him, they have the money to sign him. They've got 2 first-round picks. Like I said, it's not going to be hard for them to give up one of those. They're getting a good guy. They know he's proven. Then the other team that's kind of a sleeper, I don't know if anybody's really talked about, is the Texans. They're a shorter wide receiver. They need help on offense. They've got an outstanding defense. They've got a tremendous run game, the best offensive line in the game, but all they have is Andre Johnson. I think they're more than willing to give up their 25th or 26th pick in the first round. Give that up. They've got tons of cap space. Sign him to a 5-year deal. Bam, you got your guy locked up.
That's true.
All right, guys. Well, before we sign off for our pilot episode of Field Vision, Jim, why don't you tell everybody, how they can find Sports Kings online? Let them do your commercial.
Our website's www.sports-kings.com. We have 4 offshoot sites that specialize in every one of the 4 major sports. You can also find us on Twitter at RealSportsKings. And we have everything you can imagine on a sports site. We have lists, all the breaking news you need, all the updates every single day with every sport. And right now we currently have every free agent transaction going on, an ongoing list. They're all great sites run by very good writers and very knowledgeable sports people. So just give us or check us out if you'd like to sometime.
All right, Jimmy, War Room Sports. Where can we find you?
War Room Sports is everywhere online. Just Google War Room Sports because we own the internet. That's warroomsports.com, warroomsportstv.com. We're on Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can find some of us in your mother's bedroom, but you can find War Room Sports anywhere, man.
All right, everybody. This has been our inaugural episode of Field Vision. We'll be back next week with more in-depth NFL analysis, and we'll just let you know everything that's happening in the league, free agency, and everything leading up to the NFL draft next month. As usual, everybody, don't accept mediocrity and be steadfast in the war against ignorance.
I see you chumps on top.